The purpose of the conference is to bring together the startup and innovation community in Mississippi. A lot of people that operate independently, starting companies, developing new technologies, looking at problems that we all want to solve. Bring them together, trade ideas, trade techniques, see what other people are doing. It's a little bit of cut and paste of technology. Maybe solutions that work in one area will work in another. It's a little bit of a cheerleading adventure to show people what successes some people are having, so that somebody can say, well, if they can do it here, I can do it here. So it's to trade best practices to some extent and techniques. What I'm looking for is to talk to people, usually in the aisles. A lot of the interesting stuff that happens here, in addition to what happens in the meetings, is what happens in the hallways. And I haven't made it into the meetings only because I've met so many people here that I can connect with other people to help their startup companies or help them develop their ideas. It becomes an exchange of information.
Next, introduce our next speaker. I want to bring up Jan Collins, who's the Executive Director of the Madison County Business League and Foundation, and also an event sponsor here for the conference. And Jan can introduce our next speaker.
Thank you, Tony, and good morning. It's my distinct honor and privilege to introduce our humble public servant and a friend, U.S. Congressman Gregg Harper. Gregg is currently serving his fourth term in the U.S. House of Representatives after having been first elected to Congress in 2008. Gregg has lived in Mississippi's 3rd Congressional District since 1972 and currently resides in Pearl, Mississippi with his wife of 37 years, Sydney. They have a son, Livingston, and a daughter and son-in-law, Maggie and Brent. The Harpers are active members of Crossroads Baptist Church in Brandon, where he served for many years as a Sunday school teacher in the high school and college classes. Gregg and Cindy are both graduates of Mississippi College, where he majored in chemistry and then earned his law degree from the University of Mississippi School of Law in 1981. Prior to being elected to Congress, Gregg practiced law for 27 years, including serving as the prosecuting attorney for the cities of Brandon and Richland. He also served in the Mississippi Oil and Gas Board and remains active in his community as a member of both the Pearl and Rankin County Chambers of Commerce. He was also honored to serve as the board attorney for the Mississippi Baptist Children's Village until his election to Congress. Gregg serves on the House Committee on Energy and Commerce, where he is a member of 3 subcommittees: Environment and the Economy, Commerce, Manufacturing and Trade, and Energy and Power. Gregg serves as the Vice Chairman of the Subcommittee on Environment and the Economy. He was also appointed by the Speaker of the House to sit on 3 select committees: the Committee on House Administration, the Joint Committee on the Library of Congress, where he serves as Vice Chairman, and the Joint Committee on Printing, where he serves as Chairman. Congressman Harper and his wife Sydney are committed to supporting families with special needs children. His desires to serve the state of Mississippi and our country with honor and integrity as he works in the U.S. House of Representatives to advocate conservative values in the important tasks and challenges facing America. Please join me in giving a warm welcome to our U.S. Congressman, the Honorable Gregg Harper.
Thank you, Jan, and it's great to be with everybody today, and I hope it was a good-looking breakfast out there, too. I hate I didn't get here in time to partake. Look, our greatest days are not behind us. I think they're in front of us, and we need to look at it that way. And one thing I do is I represent about 750,000 people in our state, but more than just being a member of the House of Representatives, I consider myself an ambassador for the state of Mississippi. How do we do things that encourage our kids? I know we say we want to make sure we keep our brightest kids here and they find jobs here and stay here. I want to say that how do we make all of our kids be ones that we consider bright? They have the ability. How do we do that? I mean, this is something that we have How many have we seen that we've given up on for one reason or the other, that just didn't get the opportunity to push or didn't have the support? I had the advantage of having two parents who taught me to read at an early age and spent time with me. Not every kid has that, but every kid has that ability to do those things. You know, if you look at the starting quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys, one young Dak Prescott, if you look at his background, he grew up in a house trailer. We write people off sometimes because, you know, they didn't come from the best neighborhood, or they didn't come from the best background. We just can't do that. But we have to make sure that our kids grow up knowing that their best opportunity for a bright future is here in Mississippi. We have hidden gems here throughout our state. I flew down to Gulfport last night and back, and I didn't tour the company this time, but I was with one of the executives there, and that's a little company called Siemens Composites. Not the big Siemens down on 49, just south of Jackson. But this company is in Gulfport, Mississippi. They probably employ about 125 people. They're going to add about 10 engineers in the next year. And guess what this little Mississippi company does that probably most people have never heard of? They manufacture the bow dome for all the Virginia-class nuclear submarines. I don't think you could get one of them in this room. But it is top secret stuff that they deal with. They're great jobs. And that's just one example. I toured Precision Spine over in Pearl just a month ago or less. These things are here. They're things that teach our kids that there are great jobs that are there for them. One thing we've done that we've shortchanged a lot of our students has been, you know, I've got a daughter just turned 25. Math was not a strong point for her. It was for me. I love math and science. I loved them going through school. I always took the classes. But what happens in most of our academic settings, students will say, well, I've met my math requirement, and they're done. They're not going to touch another math class. If they get done by the 9th, 10th grade, they're not taking another math class as long as they live. Well, that's great. That makes it kind of easy sometimes. But it also eliminates possible paths for them that they otherwise could have done. So how we impress that forward is going to be really, really important. And then let's not lose sight of the fact that one of the drawing points and one of the attractions for Mississippi is, we know this, there's really not a better place than Mississippi to live. There's not a better place to raise your family. We can fry anything. I mean, this is a good place. And you have things that we do to promote the state that we want to look at that. It always helps when we have winning football teams, so we've let up on that this year. But it is something that does put us on the map. That's why when you have State and Ole Miss and Southern and Jackson State and other schools doing well, Mississippi College won the table tennis national championship last year. I mean, these are things that help. But we have a child with special needs. Livingston's now 27. He has Fragile X syndrome. And you know what? We finally just said, well, let's not worry about what he can't do. Let's focus on what he can do. Let's make that greater and do that thing. Every one of you have areas that you live, places you live in. You know what attracts people, what makes people want to go to certain places. I mean, Mayor Bowman, we're going to Canton during Christmas. You know, there's something special about a town square. It gives an ability to it's just home, you know, it just feels comfortable. And so those things are there. And I know Corey Wilson, one of our state legislators, works hard on so many issues, but particularly we have a common bond because he really is doing some great work trying to help kids with special needs, families that are trying to raise them. So Mississippi State University, for instance, is the first program in the state for post-secondary education opportunities for students with intellectual disabilities. My son was one of the first 2 students to graduate from that program. They have 10 kids this year that are in that. So this is not just a zero-sum game where we help some and it helps them and others lose. We've got an opportunity for everybody to be successful. And that's one thing that makes our state, I think, attractive as we look at those opportunities. But let's look at a couple of things. Being on the Energy and Commerce Committee in DC is the, don't tell my other colleagues, don't tweet this out. I know we're on camera, we have media here. It's the best committee to be on in the House of Representatives. About 60% of all the jurisdictional issues come through Energy and Commerce. This past year, we had a series on my subcommittee that I'm on, Commerce, Manufacturing, and Trade. Now let's think just a second. Commerce, Manufacturing, and Trade, that pretty much covers a lot of the business, doesn't it? When we're talking about innovative business growth, then those areas matter a lot. And we have an argument. Look, there's something happening next week. Oh yeah, presidential election. I almost forgot. It's one of those things that perhaps neither candidate is viewed right now as maybe pro-trade, because they both have had some issues on trade issues. But guess what? 95% of the world's customers live outside the United States, so we've got to be smart. We've got to figure out a way to do business, do trade deals that work and are effective for us. And there's an emotional issue going on right now, too, when we're looking at business opportunities, and that is the Castro regime in Cuba. Communist Cuba had a long history of strong emotional history that we have. So I've got some friends that they will never want to open up trade there. And it's something that you have to look at. And one reason you look at it, pull out the map when you get home and look at the distance between the Gulf Coast of Mississippi and Cuba. I would imagine that there are a lot of poultry industry and timber and ag and other issues that are going to want to take a look at what's going on over there. So you have to go forward with your eyes open and make those decisions. And by the way, you know what who our number one trading partner is with Mississippi? It's Canada. You know who's number two? You think Mexico, don't you? It's not. Panama is number two. Mexico's number three. Just kind of blows you away when you think about that. But we did a series of hearings called the Disruptor Series on the Commerce, Manufacturing, and Trade Subcommittee. And what it did was it looked at the dramatic innovation that was going on in various sectors, and that included mobile health care apps, the Internet of Things. How about that? If you go up to somebody and ask them, what do you think of the Internet of Things? What thing? Most people have no idea. We've heard of the Internet, but most people haven't heard of the Internet of Things. But that's where the activity, the innovation, and everybody in this room knows it, of course. But you look at things like 3D printing and digital currency. So this is something that's been there. One of the problems you have in anything you're doing in business is the regulatory burden that you're facing. And right now, the regulatory burden has been very high. So much of your business, doesn't matter if you're in healthcare. And by the way, one of the issues that we've worked on tremendously because of the way Mississippi has set up, and that's been, when I came in almost 8 years ago, I'd never thought about telehealth. That was not a reason why I ran for Congress. But because of the great work that the University of Mississippi Medical Center had done in that area, and has done, leading university in the country, we fell right into that. And our office now is one of the leading, if not the leading office in Congress on the House side on telemedicine issues. So these are things that we look at, but you've got to make sure that when you have an agency, let's say CMS, that oversees that, Center for Medicaid and Medicare Services, that you can have all the greatest innovation and technology opportunities in the world, but if you can't get reimbursed for it, it's really not going to work, is it? So we have to make sure that government regulations sometimes can't keep up with that innovation. They're usually looking at it from behind, and we have to have ways that we can go forward and do that. Mississippi State University was selected last year as the Center of Excellence for the Assure program. That was the Alliance for Systems Safety of Unmanned Aerial Systems. 22 universities, one Center of Excellence. And it's not in California, it's not at MIT, not at Stanford, it's at Mississippi State University. Y'all, we're doing great things, so don't take it on the chin if somebody tries to trash talk Mississippi when you're out and about. Have some things in your pocket that you can say. We know it's the best place to do business. Others will tell you that it's also the best value for the dollar is in Mississippi. You promote your areas, you promote your cities. University towns, cities are the best place for retirement. Seniors want to go, and guess what they have? They have money. They usually have money to spend. So it's good for the economy. When you look at that, what happens in universities, they come in. Another example, I graduated from Pearl High School back in the late 1800s, I think it was. But it was a while ago. But my first year that I was there, we were able to do earmarks. And we don't do them anymore. But that first year I did it, but they were very limited in the scope. We got hundreds and hundreds of requests for earmarks, but we only did them if they were research related, defense related, or infrastructure related. If they were obviously for a university, we looked at that very carefully. But one of my only year of earmarks went to a company that had an incredible idea that would help our troops, and it was it's called CamGen is the name of the company. Well, the founder of that is another Pearl High School graduate, much more recent than me, a guy named Gary Butler, who was a field goal kicker at Pearl, and then wound up playing college ball as a kicker at Tulane. And just a smart guy, but he had a great job. CamGen is I think one of the world's top companies in the Internet of Things, and it's began in an incubator set up at Mississippi State in Starkville. And so CamGen is a Starkville-based company. They combine low-power microelectronics, sensors, wireless communications, and a real-time signal processing to fill those intelligence gaps that you might have in real time on the battlefield. And so this company is now nationally and globally recognized. So that's what you're looking for. You know, I'm out there on one of the tables was a young man a student at Jackson State that had foot pads to measure foot temperature for those with diabetes. I mean, I asked him if he would remember me years later when I might be looking for a job. But that's what you're looking at. And that's why I always told my baby girl who got married in January when she was in junior high, middle school for your young people. In junior high and high school, I said, remember, the person that you think's a nerd is going to be running a company employing 400 or 500 people in about 15, 20 years, so be nice to them. Look, I'd have been a lot nicer to John Grisham in law school if I'd have known he was going to be that famous. I mean, so the people that are around you, you try to look at that. But I just want you to realize that we have great opportunities. And our job in D.C. is to make sure that we get out of the way sometimes. If you have an idea or you have a problem in your business or your industry, don't assume we know about it. Reach out to your member of Congress if that's me. If it's not, reach out to the one that's in your district. Reach out to your U.S. senators. And also, as you run across young people, one of the greatest experiences I think a college student can do is to intern in Washington, D.C. It's a great opportunity. And our office is a great office to do that. We have 2 per semester. I believe we had one young William Collins that worked with us out of our Mississippi office. Was that 2 summers ago? I think summer before last. Yeah, and so William did a great job for us, Jan, and tell him I bragged on him when you see him. I went to a reception at a local law firm at Watkins and Eager just a few weeks ago. And 2 of our former DC interns are now young lawyers there. And you see this where they go out and they're doing some great things, but encourage college students, maybe in their senior year, to come do a semester or a summer up in D.C. Well, one thing that we do, I know I can't do everything, and I know we're talking about innovation, but that innovation means we take care of people and we help them do the best they can. So when I got to D.C., there was no program. There's a regular college student internship program, but there was nothing on Capitol Hill for those with intellectual disabilities to be able to come up and work on Capitol Hill. So I started because as God directs our paths, and I'll just say, Lord put me on a committee on House Administration that oversaw the internship program, and I was able to go to the chairman, to the people there, and say, why can't we try this? And we started with just 5 offices in a little pilot program about 7 years ago, and about a half dozen young people that were in the Mason Life program at George Mason University. And it was successful. We just finished our 7th full year of this. About 130 House and Senate offices, Republicans and Democrats have participated, to the point that we don't have enough students to meet the demand. So sometimes somebody says, I'd like to do that. So well, you may have to wait a semester to do that. But it's a great opportunity. It costs the taxpayers nothing. It gives these young people an opportunity to succeed, learn some skills, and give them social skills and confidence that they wouldn't have had otherwise. So these are things that we can do that fit in the whole picture. Let us know if we can do anything. Be strong. We can do this. God bless you. Thank you.
So a lot of the stereotypes that people have about Mississippi don't apply. There's a lot of things going on here, like Basecamp Coding Academies that's teaching coding to kids that otherwise didn't have a future, and a year from now could be $50,000, $60,000 a year coders with a future. I spoke with an advocate for climate change a few minutes ago, who's got some interesting ideas about what can be done in that area that might work in Mississippi. So it's exchanging views with people that have different approaches to common problems, and some of them will work and some of them won't. The trick is to get a lot of them started and support the ones that work and grow them.
Mississippi clearly is the best place to do business. The environment is perfect for business here. There's a low cost of living. We have lots of people that are on board. You have local, state, and federal government officials that are supportive of business development and those opportunities. We have the lowest tax rate that you can find anywhere. So we know that we're set up that way. We also have universities and community colleges that are doing a great job on training and giving those opportunities. So when you look at some of the incubators that are there on some of our university campuses and the success stories that those have brought, and you look at the innovation that we have not just in industry and the Internet of Things, but also look at healthcare. Look at the great job that Mississippi has done through the University of Mississippi Medical Center on telehealth issues to help address physician shortages in this state. And these are things that draw people to our state and create that environment to allow people to succeed in business.
The best advice I can give you on bridging the gap is you probably share a common set of goals. You probably express it differently, but in the end, we're focused on common advancement. Where we differ is the goal, the techniques that get us there, and if we can focus on goals that we agree on, that's probably in the current environment, that's probably the best we can hope for. Find elements of agreement that, for instance, income inequality is an issue. How do we fix it? Basecamp Coding Academy would be a way of reducing it, because they take people that wouldn't otherwise have a future and turns them into successful coders with a job. Both the conservative and the liberal causes can get behind that. That would be an example of bridging the gap at the moment. I think the most important thing is believe in Mississippi. I came to Mississippi in 2008. I've been stunned by the fascinating, creative, innovative things that people are doing here. We need to support the innovators and business builders, both business entrepreneurs and social entrepreneurs in Mississippi. There's a lot here that we can grow. Just look for it and believe that it can happen. Some of the most stunning things have come out of Mississippi. I mean, from, right now financial tech is popular. Well, 10, 12 years ago, an Ole Miss professor started a financial tech company and just sold it for $500 million, created 45 millionaires in Mississippi because all the investors were in Mississippi. So that's a business entrepreneur that was a success. Who would have thought a financial tech company, which has only become popular on the East Coast and the West Coast within the last few years, would be started in Mississippi 10 years ago. But this is a state that gave you B.B. King, it gave you the Muppets, gave you Oprah. There's a lot of creativity here, and that creativity is not limited to the arts. It's just as active in business.
Well, certainly for me as a member of Congress and a self-titled ambassador for Mississippi, you have to tell these success stories. When you look at companies like Camgian, you look at Basecamp, you look at success stories like Siemens Composites down in Gulfport, Mississippi, or Precision Spine in Pearl. These are things that we need to show and they should be things that are taught in our schools so that young people say, there are people here that have been successful. We want our young people, as they're educated through high school and college, to know their best opportunities for their future are in Mississippi. And we want them to be taught here and to come back here and contribute to the great success of our state.